Welcome back to the Riot Games Arena. Welcome to the Split 2 Finals here today between FlyQuest and Cloud9 to determine not only who is the best team here in North America, but to determine which one of those teams gets to represent North America on the international stage.
And on home soil. We're going to Canada.
Nothing better than an international event right close to home. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Captain Flowers. I am joined by Azael and Kobe here for the TriCast for what is, I'm hoping, a full best-of-5 run back.
It should be a really fun rematch of our upper bracket finals that went the full fearless 5 games the last time these two teams met up against each other, and now battling to see who gets to go say hi to JoJo in Canada.
It's going to be a really exciting one. Now, these two teams all year long have been so close, back and forth, back and forth. You know, FlyQuest leads the series this year 6-5 overall. It has been incredibly close pretty much every time, with the one exception being the one best-of-3 that they did play this split.
Right.
But I am really expecting a very close series and a very competitive series.
And I love the stat that they gave on the lounge, that these two teams, this split, are 32-3 in game score against anybody that's not each other.
Yeah.
There is a clear line of separation. At the beginning of the split, we were saying it's a top 4, bottom 4 type of state of the league, but it's clearly a top 2 and everybody else, as C9 and FlyQuest have just been a world apart.
Absolutely. I mean, they're 1 and 2 in the positioning phase. They play off, for first place there. They both win their groups. They play off for first seed. They meet in the upper bracket. They're meeting again in the upper bracket grand finals here. So it is just such an even back and forth matchup between these two teams.
All right, let's go ahead and hop into Champ Select, as our bans have already finished for the first half. Gwen, Yone, and Talia banned by Fly, as C9 removed the Vi, Casio, and Poppy.
Azir is up, and with Talia being banned, that seems like a very prominent first pick. The champion right now just scales so well, does so much in the meta. But FlyQuest have often crafted very tricky drafts, even in the beginning of series.
Absolutely, and we've seen Loki, even yesterday, very happy to play the Sylas into that matchup. Was popping off yesterday on the Sylas, had a monster performance. So there is the Azir.
Nothing
Varus,
too tricky
of course,
just yet.
is also incredibly popular these days, and they're just slamming the 1-2, so expecting the Azir to come through. They're going to answer with some power picks of their own. The Varus, by far the highest prized AD carry in the league right now, and Wukong, a really dominant team fighter here for Blaber.
So Wukong picked up for Blaber. I wonder if FlyQuest are going to respond with Inspired's pick here before the second half of the bans come in. When you're looking at the first half, there's not a ton of jungle bans so far. Vi in there, Poppy can be a flex, but there's still plenty of maneuverability. Okay,
that
no
sign is
jungler
crazy.
That was some good Riz. I actually think that
W
was
Riz.
That was W
I was watching
Riz
a champ. I didn't see the sign. What was it? All right, I missed the sign.
You're going to have to watch the VOD.
We're going to have to go back and watch the VOD, because right now we have Kai'Sa and Neeko locked in for FlyQuest.
And as you already mentioned it, but we did see Loki play the Sylas matchup into the Azir, so this should be a super fun one. Very confident on the pick.
And it's also, the Neeko as well, right? These are the exact two champions that had those kind of prime ultimates that he wanted to steal yesterday, and he was looking incredible on this pick, so we'll see if he can have a repeat against FlyQuest here.
And I will say, in that game, even though he was the one with his name in lights, getting all these kills at the end, Blaber also was exceptional.
He was there too.
He was exceptional.
Oh man, don't do it that dirty. Not in game 1.
He had a Smurf Wukong game as well. And the coolest thing about that series yesterday, I think, from that perspective of Cloud9, was all the comms listen-ins that we actually got really well timed, with Blaber talking about enemies' plays right before it happened. And on this champion, Wukong, we also just had an amazing owner performance just last night on it, so it will be very fresh in people's minds. We'll see if Cloud9 can kind of keep their momentum from their Shopify series rolling.
And it's interesting because now the Bard is going to get banned out, which was also paired with those champions in their series yesterday. But I fully agree, Blaber and the comms listens-ins, if you guys missed that, it was incredible. He was calling out the plays that their opponents were going to do before they were going to do them. He's saying, get ready to Bard ult me here. I'm going to bait in to engage, essentially. And it happened multiple times in this series where he had his opponent's completely downloaded.
And I especially love that with him locking the Wukong here in game number 1. Wukong is a character that needs to full send all in, right? You need to be able to play tricks on your opponents, play around your own teammates, and I love the fact that Blaber is in his zone when it comes to the shot calling. But the Bard and Jace banned out by FlyQuest, the Pantheon and Trundle banned out by C9. They're recognizing, hey, Inspired has not locked his champion yet. He's a massive performer for FlyQuest. We want to pinch that pool a little bit further.
So the one big difference so far from the previous series is that Cloud9 are not blind picking for Thanatos. That's what they did regardless when they were on blue side or red side. They just kept blind picking because they had confidence in Thanatos picks. But obviously, C9 have rethought the situation. They are not saving 5-pick red for a support counter pick or anything. They're just going to do it here since Neeko's already showing, so they can actually have one of these games where Thanatos doesn't have to blind pick into Bwipo, which is completely different. I think very, very huge here.
And it's going to make it really interesting because it could have pretty big knock-on effects for the rest of the series. Assuming that Bwipo then just goes towards meta picks because he is blinding, that means that the meta picks are going to get thinned out of the pool much more quickly because the entire last series was blind meta pick for Thanatos, weird counter pick for Bwipo over and over and over. So even when we got to game 5, there was still meta picks available for Thanatos. But with Renekton getting taken off the table here, Sejuani obviously very strong pairing, does make a lot of sense. You know, assuming Thanatos goes for a meta answer, already we're going to be knocking through a lot of those top lane champions very quickly. So when we get to a game 4 or potentially game 5, you might have to be playing some weird stuff on both sides.
All right, Renekton Sejuani, a known and deadly top lane jungle combo there for those early skirmishes. Can give you a lot of power, particularly around the grubs early on in the game. And look at FlyQuest comp, man. They are ready to full send, and C9 decide they want to roll out the red carpet for it with the Rumble for Thanatos.
Yeah, I mean, they're ready to engage. They're ready to go in, but you look at Wukong, Sylas, Rumble, Rell, like all of the engage on both sides is very explosive, and then you're realizing, you know, it's not just the Sylas going in, it's Sylas with a stolen Sejuani ult, a Neeko ult, an Azir ult, all of these ways to engage, you know, there to amplify all of the other tools that they have. This is going to be a really explosive game, and I think it's going to be so much down to the preparation before the fights, because the team that engages first, if you get hit by 1 CC, you're probably going 100 to 0 in CC on either side.
And I really want to pay attention to especially how this mid lane does go. Loki, obviously, he had a really good Sylas game into Azir, you know, previously versus Shopify, but your jungler here is more of a level 6 jungler, more of a power farm jungler, and you don't usually get to go even in CS and have such an easy time as we saw last time. So we'll see if they can actually put out some pressure.
I am so excited to see what they've got cooked up, considering how close that series was just last weekend, right? Considering how close C9 came to being able to win that one. You know, it was a 3-2, but I think it very easily could have gone the way of being a 3-1 for C9 if they would have been able to lock in that second game at the very end, not end up giving it back the way of FlyQuest. And I feel like everybody on both teams has to recognize just how close that series was.
Absolutely, and we're going to have to see, are there any finals nerves here? So much on the line for both of these teams. You're coming into game 1 of the finals, the title on the line, the trip to MSI on the line here. Are the teams going to be able to play with the same levels of confidence? You know, are they going to be a little bit shy out of the gate? I'm excited to find out.
All right, let's get on to the Rift. Now, normally, I feel like a lot of times when we get into these high-stakes best-of-5s, game 1 can be a little bit, just touch your toes in the water, test it out a little bit. I wonder, will we get that aggro?
Well, already we're seeing something. So this is actually a play that's going on the bottom side of the map right now. You had a delayed invade where I saw on the minimap, we didn't actually have the camera over it, but Cloud9 made a 3-person move down here to try and catch if anyone from FlyQuest was in this brush. But FlyQuest had already preemptively warded this brush, and nobody was there to actually get caught. So no summoner spells went down. There was no actual combat or anything. But it's that type of prep for level 1s and those types of plays in best of series that show that you take this so incredibly seriously, and the losses last time that they actually had to them were partially due to some very good level 1 prep.
Absolutely. This is going to be an exciting 2v2 on the bot side. You know, generally, you're going to be favoring Varus over the Kai'Sa, but of course, there's a Neeko involved, and supports make all the difference oftentimes as Loki just barely got in tower range there, and that turns that trade from pretty nice to a little bit catastrophic.
Yeah, you want to talk about all the difference. Level 1 turret shot, that's an entire potion now that you're going to have to drink to get that HP back. Feels pretty bad, but it does show that Loki really wants to play aggressively here on this Sylas. I think everybody that saw his last performance on the champion there yesterday is hoping to see a repeat of those kinds of moves here again, except maybe FlyQuest. They're probably not looking for that type of a performance, but C9 with Loki here in the mid lane on this pick, obviously looking to him to be a huge playmaker. Blaber pathing his way through the backside of the jungle right now.
And the last time these two teams met in finals was back in 2020, so it's been quite a while. These were the rosters back then. Blaber still around, Zven and Vulcan still around, even though they took some trips elsewhere, they are back. And Loki getting aggressive once again here, but it's always going to be Azir who gets to trade on the back end of these. Once the spells go on cooldown, Azir is going to keep hitting you. And you can see all-pro results. It was 5 of the Cloud9 members in 2020 spring who all got first-team all-pro. This time, it is all of the FlyQuest members who got it. And it's C9 looking to prove the voters wrong here.
Anytime in any league that you see one team's players fully dominate that top all-pro, you know the other squad's got to beef with it.
We're getting the first roam timer for support right now. Good toggle here by the observers because Vulcan, he tried to sneak out of bottom lane during their recall and try and make a pass mid. It's that sort of pressure that we were talking about in Champ Select. You know, sometimes if your jungler is a Wukong farming to level 6.
Inspired is here. They're waiting. Great ward from Zven. Wow, he had sniffed that out.
Yeah, very good heads-up play there from Zven, making sure that he does not fall victim to that. If you walk right beside that brush, that's got to be a flash at minimum.
Yeah, both teams right now actually working very well around the other team's timers and countering several of the plays that we've already seen come out. FlyQuest playing pretty safely around the Vulcan timer, and then Zven as well playing safely around their counter invade.
Yeah, I mean, that's just a great read that they could be there, that they could actually be, behind the wave, punishing you on this move back. And Zven, as a result, doesn't lose his summoners, is able to actually get there and pick up the wave that was at his tower as well, and then is now going to be able to get the push out here. So going to be feeling pretty good about his position, but Busio will be annoying and just stays around here, and he's going to try to force them to stay.
And they use the Bwipo teleport here for the swap, keeping this minion wave. Looks like he is going to be able to hold it here for the next one to arrive, and that one will be a freeze until it's broken, so Vulcan sticks around as the teleport answer comes out.
You can see Vulcan trying to interrupt the tempo there on the recall for Busio. Shattering Strike does not hit the target inside the brush, though. Thanatos now teleporting his way down into the bottom lane as well, as we'll send both of our bottom lane duos, up into that top side. Kai'Sa and Varus just farming alone up there for now.
Yep, and Bwipo obviously would have loved to hold the freeze, but he knew that Vulcan had the leader recall. That was revealed by that Shattering Strike, so he cannot contest the wave. He's going to have to allow it to crash because he doesn't know if Vulcan had stayed around or not. Of course, Vulcan did base. He's heading out towards topside. So now all 4 TPs have been used. Both mid laners returning there as well. And you can see the Azir about a full wave up, but Loki will collect this here at his tower.
All right, it's about that 5-minute point into the game, Kobe. All junglers know this too well. The battle for chickens as they respawn. One of the tastiest camps on the Rift as Blaber wants to try to contest with these.
Though.
Loki still thinking about maybe an angle here. Yeah, the fact that the Azir has the ultimate, that just feels like a lost fight already.
Exactly. If Loki was 6, maybe you're willing to contest, but with him still being level 5, the Azir at 6, I think that's pretty much a guaranteed loss. So all you're going to do is see, can I smite away that camp? Can I defend it a little bit without actually committing? But again, Busio, we saw this all yesterday, with Seoul utilizing it. You can scout out so well with that Neeko clone, and they spot Blaber as a result.
Yeah, extra information in this game. Doesn't show up on the scoreboard like, gold and items and all these objectives do, but it is so, so critical. Meanwhile, we are going to have Blaber going right back down to wrap around. Does walk over the ward, though.
Okay, that Neeko clone really is one of the best vision tools in all of League of Legends, as Vulcan doesn't really care as much about the vision as much as trying to put some pressure on here. Gets the cleanse out of Massu with the attempted play.
Yep, nice going to be able to get that out. Oh, great sweep!
With a beautiful use of the Emperor's Divide there to knock Loki back into the turret, force the flash out of the C9 mid laner.
That greatly changes the mid-priority rules here for the matchup because you have to always be able to threaten. We've seen Loki, camera on him the entire time, going for these trades, trade after trade after trade after trade. Now that you don't have your flash, you are very vulnerable to getting punished. Meanwhile, on the bottom side there, of course, FlyQuest do get the dragon for their time, and it does mean Blaber already well, he's almost to his level 6 as well, so he should be able to answer his level 6 as soon as he finishes up his blue buff. But then you get to see junglers looking for their plays. Wukong on level 6 and Sejuani on level 6, they're immediately looking to use those ults.
Yep, and Loki just trying to shove in this wave and then get his own reset off here. But that was just great timing from Quad. You know, sees the Abscond Duck coming out, times his ulti to hit him back right as he arrives. And as a result, forces that flash, and now it's going to be Loki having to play pretty safe. When you're playing these melee into ranged matchups, the only way you actually put on any pressure is by trading aggressively. But by trading aggressively without flash, you're really exposing yourself to a level 6 gank here from Inspired, who could look to try to punish that. Thankfully, they have this deep ward here that they did spot Inspired, so they're going to have some information that he is clearing down from that top side.
And honestly, there are a couple options there for Inspired. Since Thanatos also has no flash on the Rumble, it is so much better for junglers to have multiple options here to keep their opponents guessing. Fortunately for Inspired, he is on a ward right now, so the guessing is going to be really accurate.
Pretty easy guess.
When you're on Vision.
Pretty easy stuff to read those. But we do have the Void Grubs spawning now as 8 minutes strike the clock. Inspired will move into this top side of the river. Looking at the mid laners, Quad, importantly, does not have the Emperor's Divide available again just yet. That cooldown is almost there, but not quite. Inspired going to start up the Grubs, go after the first one, smite it down.
Blaber also sitting on 1,400 gold, so I don't think he's going to look to fight here. He hasn't based in quite a long time.
Okay, Quad moves over now. Azir ulti is ready to use. You can see the teleports for pretty much everyone, all on just about the exact same timer and all not ready, which means anybody that's not here isn't going to be here, and FlyQuest secure all 3 grubs.
Yeah, they've got their mid priority with the flash advantage. As you say, they've got the buy timings correct for themselves, so all 3 grubs will mean that they can get more turret plate money here. Plenty of time left to try and mine that.
And they're now just 1 neutral objective here off of that feat. You know, they did get the first dragon. They did get the first 3 grubs. Well, the only 3 grubs these days. And so they are looking good.
Second pack.
Endangered species grubs.
Yeah, you will be remembered.
First 3 grubs correct, technically, if we're counting the rest of the games.
Okay, all right, Mr. Technicality. Freak comes back in the building, and now all of a sudden it's back to technicalities.
Yeah, just wait for the puns.
Oh no, okay. We've all got our lines here, all right? Let's see what's going on in mid lane. As Loki, once again, just back underneath the turret, still has quite a while to go on that flash timer, and you guys already mentioned how, yeah, that changes a lot about the dynamic of this matchup. Playing a melee character into a ranged character when the melee guy doesn't have flash is just tough, man, as Bwipo goes for the Dominus here, looks to set it up on Thanatos with Inspired coming in behind with a Glacial Prison. Thanatos is cut down for first blood.
Really nice. We said Inspired has options. He goes for option number 2, and Bwipo sets it up perfectly there. You know, the CC, very good from FlyQuest, and that timing means that they do get to use their pack of grubs because the 2 turret plates have been annihilated instantly after the kill. So that kill is not just that money, it's a huge balloon.
Look at that, 600 gold now in the favor of Bwipo there in that top lane matchup. So opening up a really nice advantage for himself. I also really like how they actually just juggled the aggro. Bwipo pulled aggro on the initial play, then stepped back so Inspired can move forward, make sure he's the one actually tanking it. So even if some reinforcements came in, Bwipo, the one doing more damage, is the one not tanking the tower who could always finish off the kill.
Ooh, as Inspired now looking for another play.
TP.
They want to repeat it onto Thanatos. Bwipo teleports in. The Rumble is going to get chopped up again, back to back. Inspired's got his number.
It's a play so nice, they had to do it twice.
His flash was still not off cooldown, you know. I mean, he matches the swap, basically. He's hunting him on Summoner's Rift. Kill him on bottom side, then kill him on top side.
And remember, this is FlyQuest on blue side. This is not a Bwipo counterpick. This is just Bwipo and Inspired doing what they do best.
Hey, these meta picks are pretty good for a reason. This was that earlier play. Perfect setup there. He lands the stun, and this is where I'm talking about backstep so Inspired could tank. If someone came in to defend, he would be there to finish it off.
And then on reset, Inspired chases him basically right up to the opposite side of the map. It's also within Inspired's all normal clear. So Inspired has been clearing down towards bottom side the entire time. Yeah, exactly. There you go. The Rumble camp is between.
He's not flash, he's dead. Got him.
Great play. Nice.
Yeah, simple as that.
Calm, cool, and collected. Also worth noting, the top play was even more like the bottom play than we originally thought because they also got 2 plates off of the top lane turret.
Yeah, and the last time an MVP won Finals MVP was Bjergsen back in 2015. Inspired looking to do that here today. Off to a great start, you have to say.
For anybody that doesn't have the context on time, 2015 was actually a decade ago. That is a long...
Whoa! Calm down there, buddy.
Oh, man, we're doing it again! Bwipo and Inspired going right back in for the repeat one last time. Thanatos with the flash manages to survive this one. But FlyQuest have a game plan, and that game plan is smack Thanatos around.
And it's interesting, Flowers, because the game plan that Bwipo said last time they were heading into the best of 5 versus Thanatos, he was like, I just got to neutralize Thanatos. Seems like they have raised the priority.
He's looking pretty neutralized.
I mean, we're talking neutralized in like the special ops type of way now. Like, they're taking this guy out. FlyQuest now, they're looking to grab themselves this first turret of the game. Now, it is important to note that feat that you announced earlier, Isaac, is still not there for FlyQuest because C9 got the second Drake.
Ooh, yes, of course.
So it is still available for C9 to get the boots, but FlyQuest are looking a lot closer to it.
And it's really just so much about the objectives they're getting afterwards. 2 kills. If you say 2 kills in isolation, you're like, that game's probably fine, right? No, because they keep getting so many turret plates and the actual turret afterwards, these objectives that they're getting after these kills are so much more of the value. And that's why you have over a 3,000 gold lead here, which makes it seem like getting those feats is very far out of reach for C9.
Absolutely. And I mean, when you see this much of an isolated lead up in the top lane, that is so problematic. I feel like Bwipo has this legendary Renekton. We've seen how he plays around Sterix, so many times before, how much of a monster he can be in these team fights. And he is just off to the races. He is going to be playing in their face. He has the early Shojin. He has the early Merc Treads to deal with any sort of CC coming through from the other side. And we know he is going to be a beast in team fights.
Yeah, the Shojin completed with the tier 2 boots as Thanatos is still fumbling with the components of the Liandry's, trying to get those put together with his brown bag shoes. This is not a very even comparison. Loki jumps in there, but that's only a clone.
He's got the IKEA set there. He's trying to fit the pieces together.
We've all been there.
Where's that Liandry's go?
Look, man, some of those words are really hard to read on those things, all right? The pictures can be a little bit confusing sometimes. Hopefully he can get those items online so he can start contributing more when the bigger fights start breaking out. There are first item power spikes coming in on both teams, though. You can see the AD carries, both hitting their first items. Also, Blaber with the Trinity Force completed on the Wukong could be a big playmaker to try and get C9 back in this.
Flowers, take a look.
That's a lot.
The gold plate difference here.
Yeah.
That is massive, and it is funding a lot of these completed items here on the side of FlyQuest.
You can also see that Quad is going the double mask build here. This has become pretty popular on the Azir. You go double mask, the passive stack, then you're building in toward the Liandry's, as your first completed item, but it's a lot of HP, a lot of AP. It's quite efficient, and it's become really popular.
I had a Teemo build 3 of those in my top lane.
You only got one face. How many masks
the team, we were talking to him, we were like, are you going to build 4 of those?
I had a Singers build 5 of them once. It did not work out well.
Yeah, I was like, no, I'm not that crazy. But yeah, obviously can use both of them. The first one here immediately turned into the Liandry's, so already ready to fire there. Cloud9, though, they are starting up the Rift Herald, and FlyQuest are here.
Okay, FlyQuest want a challenge for this. C9 have the Herald down to about 5,000 HP, but there's still plenty of work left to do. Inspired jumps in, going after Vulcan here at the very start. Vulcan with the counter engage there for the Magnet Storm, but Busio with the Pop Blossom finds 3 of them as he goes down. Inspired's got to be careful as Loki wants to kill him off, but he ain't going to find the damage. Zven's piercing arrow over the top. Gets it done, but it's still FlyQuest winning the fight 3 for 2. They will claim the Herald as their prize and claim the feats and the boots to go with it.
What an ulti there from Busio, catching multiple members from Cloud9 right as Bwipo arrives with the teleport. Quad hits him with the sweep. It is perfection from FlyQuest. They are crushing game 1.
Yeah, Cloud9, they went straight for Quad to try and get him, but his defense
team is very spread.
Yeah.
I can peel.
I'm looking on Rumble here on this side.
I'm peeling. It looks really good.
It looks really good. They're gonna get cooked here. Kill 2. Going on Sylas.
I'll copy.
No flash that guy.
Oh,
yeah, I can.
And it did look really good from FlyQuest.
Yeah.
They didn't cook him as hard as they thought they were going to because of the snipe at the end from Zven, which made it end up only being 1 extra kill, 2 to 3. But, of course, they did get the Rift Herald on top of it.
Yeah, the Herald going over, plus now you're 4,000 gold ahead, 16.5 minutes into the game. You've secured the feats for the extra stats that the Enchanted Boots are going to give you. This is a massive lead for FlyQuest. There's 30 seconds until the next Drake spawns, and if I'm Cloud9, I'm not looking at this as a fight that I have much of a chance at all in.
And it's so problematic when you're looking at just compositionally as well. Like, you are a 4 melee team here as Cloud9, down 4,000 gold against this team that has the counter engage from the Neeko, that has an Azir's in a great position, has this Renekton that you're trying to fight through to even get towards the carries, who's monstrously fed. It is going to be so hard for them to actually reach these carries and take them down.
And look at how Inspired is actually just mass stacking magic resistance here. He is not worried about the physical damage at all, and playing the front line here does seem like it is working out as they're trying to move in. Thanatos has his teleport ready, but the Rift Herald down mid means FlyQuest are guaranteed mid-prio before the Dragon fight anyway.
All right, the mid lane tier 1 is already down. FlyQuest will not stick around long enough to try and escort the Herald further forward towards the tier 2. They're going to back up towards that Drake now as Blaber has to leave behind the clone and try to exit before FlyQuest start things up. But a TP is coming in from C9. FlyQuest could have found themselves here in a pinch spot. Nice engage there on the quad. The Azir getting away for now. Bwipo trying to cover the exit, but Thanatos goes in for the flash into the shutdown. FlyQuest still getting caught out a little bit here, but again, it's Loki this time trying to use the pop blossom. Bwipo's on a rampage as Thanatos falls. Loki's on the run. Bwipo's on the hunt, but he goes too far. C9 get a 3-for-1 with a beautiful pincer attack.
What a setup, Flowers. We have to see the replay on how Loki flanked around the back of the Dragon Pit within Fog of War, and Cloud9 dissect FlyQuest here. You could tell at the very beginning, they all have the target on Quad's head again. They surgically removed that Azir from the game.
And even with how tanky he was, the CC layering was just excellent here. You talked about Loki coming around from behind. He's sneaking in behind the rest of the team. You can see him right on this ward. And then watch Vulcan. Vulcan is going to find the initial engage, and then the follow-up is all there. He goes in, then the Chains of Corruptions come through. You can see the Abscond of Duct hits, the Piercing Arrow hits, the Equalizer hits, everything committed to kill him off.
Yep, Thanatos flashing to finish it, and then they're able to take the rest of the team fight and the Dragon. Let's get a listen in on the comms from their side to see how it was set up.
It looks cooked there. Sorry, Mabi.
Nice, 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 nice.
And you can see there, the Renekton, tried to go for the flash stun onto Loki, but Loki flashed at the same time. He gets out. And now, Loki, Blaber, they are creating some big differences here for the team in these fights. And this was back to yesterday, game 2. Yeah. The monster performance that this duo had. They took over once they got ahead. We'll see if they can try to work their way back into this one and really look to do some damage.
Obviously, it is still a FlyQuest lead, but that lead is now half as strong as it was before. Plus, Cloud9 securing another Drake for themselves means less pressure going forward of having to go to these objective fights. And Zven now with a 1.4 thousand gold lead individually. You can see he's up 35 farm. He's about to hit the Muramana power spike with a fully charged Manamune as well. This Varus could be the difference maker as C9 are ready to start up the Otacon. Quad is in the bottom side river, and he does not have teleport to try to join this if FlyQuest want to stop it. Now, Bwipo is nearby. Busio making his way over, but everybody else on FlyQuest is just not there. Low. If C9 can bring this down fast enough, they might just be able to force it before FlyQuest can really respond. Vulcan using the Magnet Storm defensively. C9 have claimed the Otacon, but now can they get away? Loki's got to try to get out as Massu flies in there with a killer instinct. Loki's going to be in some danger, but Bwipo now too. It might just be a 1-for-1. 4v4 on the map as Bwipo and Loki are both isolated and picked off. But now C9 are going back towards FlyQuest lines. The tier 1 turret is still up, so they can't keep going that direction. Blaber with the re-engage looking to find something here as Busio goes in for the Pop Blossom, but Blaber is still alive. He's trying to get himself back away as C9 scrambles. Vulcan barely hanging on, but the burn from the Leandries almost takes him out. Quad is still burning now too.
Great flash.
He dies as he goes in. A 1-for-1 trade on that, but Zven's gonna hit these arrows. Massu and Inspired still hunting for more. Zven trapped inside the alcove as Vulcan tries to get away, and FlyQuest take out 4.
Oh! Cloud9 get the Otacon, but FlyQuest will be laying the flowers at their graves. They chase them down. Vulcan actually escaped.
Loki's back.
He teleported out. He's got a Sejuani ultimate.
Here comes Bwipo now. It's round 2!
Okay. The two guys who died at the very start decide they want in on the action.
What action it is, too, Flowers. That was so close. At the beginning of that re-engage, Busio actually breaks their ankles to set them up for success.
I've got to say, though, the thing that stood out the most to me is how little tank damage they have. Like, they cannot deal with Inspired in this 4v4. So the initial play happens, Bwipo sectioned off on one side, Loki sectioned off on the other, they both get a kill. Now just watch Inspired throughout this fight. I feel like Zven played this whole sequence so well, but they have so little sustained damage to actually be able to pressure Inspired in this. You know, Busio comes in, gets a 2-man knockup. There was a nice backstep from Vulcan to avoid it. Zven able to get some pretty good damage out, hits the Chains of Corruption on multiple people, then the Piercing Arrow does land on Quad as well. As Quad goes in for the Azir ult, Zven has a great flash to avoid it. He gets the kill there, but Inspired just can never die. Like, they have no damage to actually threaten him, and he's bouncing in and out of this fight so well. Massu and Busio are contributing so much damage with the space that is being made.
And then, as you know, Vulcan is the one that is able to sneak away. All right, look at the intensity here already in this matchup. FlyQuest, even with the 3K gold lead, really starting to sweat it with these C9 plays that they have been setting up. Right back to action, though. FlyQuest on the reset do get another objective.
And of course it is, you know, a pretty significant lead here for FlyQuest, but you have to consider the stats from all of the flowers that Cloud9 has gotten from grabbing Otacon, so it's closer than it looks right now. They also have 2 dragons to their name. This next dragon here going to be spawning pretty soon. It does look like it is FlyQuest fully controlling the area, though. No one wants to give over a Cloud Soul. It is so strong, especially when you're looking at a lot of the individual champions in this game. You know, Renekton, Wukong, even the Sylas. Like, so many of these champions are incredibly strong with it.
Well, FlyQuest do have that total control of the area that you're talking about. You can see all the vision they're placing down here with the control wards in the banana brush, in the line brush, normal wards placed down in the C9 jungle so they can see anybody on the approach. And with the objective spawned, and you have Azir on your team, not particularly difficult or time-consuming to guarantee you've got that one under control. Again, just using the power of the Neeko clone from Busio to scout out that enemy territory, make sure that nobody's on the approach, and FlyQuest will secure that Drake without any sort of a fight. Important thing to note here, one big difference between these teams and a huge reason for FlyQuest's advantage right now. Cloud9 have still not taken a single turret so far this game. They got behind so early, and then they've had struggles since then getting back out onto the map.
Absolutely. It's also really interesting to me to note Bwipo going for much more of an aggressive build with his lead. Goes Sunder Sky second after the Shojin here. He's not going towards Asterix or something that is a little bit more tanky. Obviously, you get healing from this, but you know, it is not that kind of like team fight item that you really think of, unless you can really kind of bounce around between a lot of different targets and get a ton of healing from it.
Okay, Bwipo, we'll see how strong that Crocodile is. Remember, he was the one that was a little too far forward in the previous fight. He was the one who got traded off in that initial 1-for-1 with Loki. So let's see what C9 can cook up here to try and stop this lead from getting back away from them, because it is still a 4,000 gold lead for FlyQuest. Despite the fact that C9 found them in that pincer attack, FlyQuest have done a good job fighting back. They're making sure that they keep finding turrets whenever they can. They're controlling the map in the smartest way possible, and they're continuing to just be that team that everybody else struggles to answer.
Yeah, and you kind of talked about it a little bit too in the previous fight up on the top side of the map, but Inspired, that had been just mass stacking this magic resist, finished off his Kainic Rookern, and now into the Warden's Mail. Warden's Mail, even though it's only a little component half item, is one of the best as far as defenses for armor. So this Sejuani is just going to be so tanky, and that's why Cloud9 have demonstrated their tactic for these team fights is to surgically remove the carries. They are not trying to go through this Sejuani. You know, they have constantly tried to assassinate Quad, trying to blow up Massu here. So if they will be able to pave the way with vision to find more of these flanks, you know, allow Sylas some really good angles to engage there with Wukong and Rell, then maybe they will be able to carve out a comeback. But FlyQuest right now have a very solid hold over the important parts of the map, and that is Baron.
And I do think the job gets harder because now we have the upgraded Void Seeker for Massu. He has enough AP, so now he's going to be spamming out this poke, you know, helping to track and kind of combat the poke that Zven has here on the poke Varus. So it's going to be tough to deal with them.
So the one good thing here for Cloud9, despite the 4,000 gold deficit, they do have the same number of fully completed items as their FlyQuest counterparts, right? 80 carries on 3, solo laners on 2, junglers on 2. The big difference is, though, there are some additional components on FlyQuest's side that are going to matter. Kobe, you already talked about the Warden's Mail. You can see the Steel Sigil there for Bwipo as well. But the big one, the Seeker's Arm Guard for Quad. This is an absolute fight-warping item and can really allow him to full send and go in on this Azir.
And this is kind of like this Battle Azir build where you are pretty tanky, you have HP in both your core items. Now you're going into the Seekers, you have the tank boots. You're not just going to get one shot by one little piece of CC hitting you. You are pretty durable in these extended fights, but this is the head-to-head record between these two teams in 2025. It is 6-5 in FlyQuest's favor. They are ahead in game number 1. Of course, historically, Cloud9, the stronger organization, had dominated for a long time, but more recently, it's FlyQuest making that even out.
Nice escape there from Vulcan, though.
Yeah, Quad trying to use the Emperor's Divide, but it doesn't end up working out. Now Blaber wants to put some pressure onto the FlyQuest carries, but he's not going to find enough damage to do that here just yet. The Wukong's got to try to get away over the wall of the Baron pit as Bwipo, with the Dominus active, is ready to slice and dice Vulcan all up, but he won't find enough damage for that kill either. Attempts from both, but Zven with a beautiful pop at the very end to take Busio down.
Ooh, FlyQuest had actually been earning some flashes there, forcing Blaber out after his ult and everything, but it is Cloud9 that get the last laugh. They get the kill onto the enemy support. What can they do with it, though? Because the next dragon is in just over 50 seconds here. This is only going to be dragon number 3 either way, so it's not pivotal. It's not critical that you actually fight this fight. So if you don't have good setup, I would say just don't go there and wait for the next big one.
Looks like they're going to go top. They did spot Loki here on this wave, and Inspired is coming. Bwipo is in the area as well. Loki doesn't have reinforcements very close.
Yeah, you already had the minion wave there for Bwipo to guarantee the second use of the slice and dice. They force out Loki's flash. They don't want to commit their own flashes to try to follow it. They'll just take the summoner spell as the win.
So now, on these critical Cloud9 members that are trying to assassinate Quad, they don't have flash on Loki or Blaber. But, of course, they did get Quad's flash itself in their last attempts at his life. Here's the rotation over towards the Baron once again, though, as they want to be able to get some of that vision back in.
It's so hard with those stupid Neeko clones, man. Every time you think you've cleared out all the vision, every time you might be able to set a trap and play around the fog, nope, here comes another fake Neeko clone running in there to ruin the day.
And you can see Seeker's done now for Massu as well, making things that much more difficult. Both these carries you want to target are going to be really hard to take down.
I want to point out that Cloud9 actually drop a whole wave at the tower here to stay through mid because they feel it's that important to have that priority in the setup for this objective.
Yeah, we got the dragon spawned now as both teams are ready to try to fight for it. C9 are going to take more damage off of the initial quick trade as Inspired's Arctic Armor absorbs a lot of that. We'll wait and see if you can get that back in time before the next engage is required, as C9 are going to go ahead and start up the Drake themselves.
Thanatos is split, and he has been spotted. It's going to be hard for him to rejoin the team.
Okay, Loki once again on the same flank he was on the last time around. Quad trying to look out for him as Bwipo approaches from the side. Zven has to flash over the wall to try to stay alive, but Bwipo's going to keep putting the pressure on, and Quad's taking a kill on Zven. FlyQuest have already claimed the objective and the life of the enemy AD carry. C9 on the run. Blaber at only 1/3 HP. That's the enemy jungler. That's the man who might be able to steal something away. FlyQuest know it, and they're going over to Baron.
That right there is why every pro player loves Azir. As a carry, they have safety. Here we go, though, on the face check.
Oh, Bwipo. Pretty far forward, but manages to slice and dice back away. Could still be in a little bit of trouble here as Blaber dies with an EPS from Bwipo and Massu combined, and Loki's got to try to get away, but he's stunned up by Inspired. Thanatos gets a kill back on Bwipo, but now he has to flash over the wall to stay alive. Massu trying to cut off that escape route. Void Seeker goes a little bit to the left, but Thanatos does not have any way home. It's all just about who's going to get the kill at this point, and the answer is Massu. The Acathian rain is pouring hard today.
But it does mean they can't do Baron because he bought enough time for Zven to respawn. Loki goes mid, pushes out that, and he's threatening this tier 1 tower. So yes, FlyQuest winning out in that fight, but Cloud9 hanging on, denying that big Baron play. But I really want to highlight the attack on Zven here. This flank from Bwipo comes in. The early a forced flash on Zven, and then watch Bwipo. He flashes over the chains of corruption that Zven fires at him. Perfect timing to dodge that. gets in, finishes them off. That is beautiful play.
Meanwhile, the opposite side of the fight where C9 send everyone to assassinate the Azir, quad, defensive Azir ultimate, and slides to safety. Something Varus cannot do. Meanwhile, Bwipo then at the end kind of draws in the rest of them for this fight that allows FlyQuest to chase down a couple more kills, and we need to get back to live because the Baron was not taken afterwards. So let's return to the objective.
Run it back. FlyQuest first into the pit, but with C9 able to respond in time, that means FlyQuest is going to disengage this one. Remember, Fly do now have themselves at Soul Point. If they think that the Baron is still too risky at this stage in the game, they can wait another 3 minutes, force Cloud9 to have to answer a Soul situation, and try to play from there instead.
And let's be honest, if they are on even keel, even with this 4K gold lead, a Baron take is incredibly risky. You're looking at Equalizer, you're looking at a stolen Pop Blossom, you're looking at, you know, all of this poke from the Varus coming over the wall. Like, it is really hard to take Baron in the face of Cloud9's composition. So I do think playing for Soul makes a lot of sense. If you're going to start Baron up, it's more for a turn in the pick.
Bwipo jumping right in onto Thanatos here. Immediately forces the overheat, and with Massu flying in with a killer instinct, FlyQuest picks up a freebie.
The Crocodile lying in wait with the Gromp here over the edge. Very deadly, nice pick. And let's see, what can they do with it afterwards? Cloud9 still keeping up the pressure, though. Every time, even though they're dropping kills, they're still trying to pressure the map. You know, Loki last time teleport out to mid, get a tower, so at least Cloud9 do get a tower out of it to get some gold, but here we go again.
Yep, and this is, you know, still over 20 seconds on this respawn, so even if they don't fully commit to it, they can try to draw in Cloud9 and look for the turn. They have a lot of tools still to go for it.
They also have a lot of DPS. Kai'Sa and Azir are not going to allow Baron to stay alive for very long. C9 knows that they've got to answer this. The Baron down to just about 4,000 health. Blaber's waiting for his opportunity to maybe go in and steal it. Baron down to 3,500 now. FlyQuest, they're so wanting to avoid some kind of a throw. But now here we go. Blaber's found his way to Massu. Massu tries to get away with a big Pop Blossom. Back and forth. Massu's dominating. Blaber's already dead. Loki stuck in the zone. He's trying to find the kill on a quad, but he will not get it. FlyQuest go 2 for 1. Inspired down to 100 HP. The Sejuani nearly falls, but it's not enough of a win for either side to try to take the Baron.
Yeah, and Cloud9 just barely can't finish off so many members. You saw this great engage from Blaber on Massu, can't get the kill. You see Varus almost finishing off the Sejuani, but can't quite do it. And yes, it is a close fight, but Sejuani lives. FlyQuest is going to be back on the map, and they're going to be going right back to Baron once again. So here is this really aggressive TP that kind of forces the hand from Cloud9.
And Massu was also holding on to a Zhonya's effect right now. So in the face of Blaber flashing on him, let's look at it live though. The Baron going down very quickly here. Nobody around to steal it for C9, so FlyQuest will finally claim the reward.
And 100 HP kind of making the difference there, I'm going to be honest, because if Zven kills off the Sejuani, I don't think that FlyQuest just run back out on the map and actually start the Baron in their face. So living with that 100 HP means that FlyQuest get Baron. Now they're in full control of the map here with this Soul spawn happening in just 5 seconds. 7K gold lead, Soul Point, Baron buff. This may be the last stand of Cloud9 in Game 1.
There we go, teleporting in for it. Pushing on the top side first, Quad then comes over, and we have the collapse.
Yeah, Loki's already in some danger as Bwipo puts the pressure on him, but Inspire getting caught here could be the big difference. The Glacial Prison misses. Zven with a shutdown on Inspired. The Pop Blossom catches Zven at the very end, and Bwipo's made his flank onto the Cloud9, carry a double kill back over to Zven. No, as Massu is now stuck inside of the Zhonyas. C9 looking for the damage under the carry. They can't quite find it. Blaber's going to be careful here. Massu is running and gunning them all down. C9 thought they had it. FlyQuest says no. They're marching down mid lane.
Oh, Massu still has it in him. Here we go inside to the base with the Baron Flowers. They're going to destroy Cloud9's hopes.
Who needs a Dragon Soul when you can take a Nexus? FlyQuest with a 3-man push. Only Thanatos here to try to stop them. The Baron Dub minions will make short work of the Nexus turrets. The credit for the ace goes over to Quad. It was a battle, but FlyQuest will earn their win in Game 1.